Hey folks, welcome back to Mark Kelly Farm. We're out here doing some fall projects today, so we thought we'd bring you along and bring you up to date with what's going on out here on the homestead, in the garden, and other places. So come on along and we'll have some fun today. So last night we were supposed to get some moisture. It was supposed to start out as rain, and then it was going to turn to snow overnight. Good morning, Cat. She must know I started the camera out here. So you can see here on the side of the barn, the only reason we have this accumulation at all because the sleet and the flurries of snow slide off the barn. Otherwise out here it's fairly dry. If you dig down in the soil, probably 1/8 of an inch, you're going to find dry dirt. And we've already been busy out here this morning, and I'll show you what we came across. So we rolled over our compost pile here that's all leaves and grass and other things from around the homestead. Kelly, when she cleans out the chicken coop, she puts chicken manure in here so we can compost down. But as we were rolling it, we could see this is dry as a popcorn you-know-what. Super dry, no moisture in that at all. So we've got it rolled over. So what I'm going to do now with the tractor, since we still have it out here, is I'm going to push this down into kind of a flat pile. And I'm going to bring the sprinkler over here from our new hydrant that we put in over here by the chicken coop. And we're going to put the sprinkler on this and get a lot of moisture in it. Because compost, if it's going to break down good, needs moisture. And if you've been around the channel last year, we got very little moisture during the winter. And so far this year, Mother Nature has not been giving us any love. So we're going to have to sprinkle this just like we did our food plot up there. So let's get spreading this out. Got her all spread out nicely, about 1.5 feet deep. So we're going to get the sprinkler over here and fire it up. Got sandhill cranes going south for the winter. You know winter's coming when you see that. All right, we got our sprinkler going. I'm going to leave it going on here all day. And maybe even a little bit tomorrow. Get a lot of good moisture in here. And that'll help this stuff start decomposing. Once we get it good and wet, I'll roll it all back up into a ball. And I'll probably put the sprinkler on top of that once I do that and do it again. And then hopefully this stuff starts cooking down so we have some good compost next year. Now when we're rolling our compost, can you see here how we're not digging down into the dirt? Stays nice and flat and rolls this stuff over without creating big divots. And I'm going to show you how we do that. Now that's all made possible with this little doohickey right here. It's called a bucket level indicator. And if you haven't seen our video on that, we made this. So what this does, if you roll your bucket until that lines up right there, it's easier to do with the tractor running. But you see how that lines up now? That indicates your bucket is level with the ground. So we'll lower the bucket. You can see the bucket's now almost level with the ground. Because we don't have the tractor going, it popped back up just a little bit. But if we were to make it to where this pushed back down, this bucket would be perfectly level with the ground. Now these are designed where this top plate here is the same angle as the bottom plate of the bucket. So they did that so you can kind of judge the bucket when it's flat, but that's very hard to do when you're sitting on the operator station. It's hard to find that angle. So if you're interested in that, we made a video on that a while back, and all we did was add to the existing bolt that sticks out there. We put a jam nut on it and welded our little holder, and then we have this stem that goes up into this pipe so you can view it right up here on top. I drove a tractor years ago with one of these and I loved it, so we went ahead and made one for our tractor because they do not come standard. Everything you get nowadays is an option, even rear remotes. This tractor has no hydraulic outlets at all for rear implements. There's no third function, of course. None of that. Plain Jane. It's like the automotive industry. Everything's an option. The next thing we're doing, we're checking out our bees out here. See if they're flying. I don't think they will be. And they are not. It's pretty cold out here. Probably mid-30s right now. So what I'm going to attempt to do is bring their cover out here and put the cover on the hives, because we're going to need to get that done. All right, we got our box out here. When I installed these new hive bodies, I didn't put them very far apart, and there's a divider in the middle of this box on the inside, and it's going to be very difficult to fit it in that gap. And I have about 3 inches to play with here that I've measured, so I'm going to go get a pry bar and I'm going to coax these boxes apart a little bit to allow for this thing to go over a lot easier. I could wait till Kelly gets home, but I rarely do that. So I'm going to go get the pry bar. hopefully we don't motivate the girls to come visit. Just going to give them a slight little nudge. I think that'll do it. So far so good. Let's get it back. Okay, we got them separated and we didn't get any of the girls excited. So we've got plenty of room in the middle and we've got about an inch play on either side, which that should be plenty. And then we're 28 inches deep this way, and these are about 22. So we got about 4 inches of play. But what we want to make sure is these lids stay pushed forward, because there's an entrance right up underneath the bottom, and that's going to allow some of the condensation moisture from the top of this hive to vent out and not condensate and fall back down onto the frames and the bees, because that's a bad thing for the bees. So I'm going to take some of my shipping tape here. I'm going to make sure these lids are forward, and I'm going to put a piece of tape just temporarily around these so these don't move as I'm setting this box on, because there's no way to check after I get it on there. I think we have success. So this isn't completely closed up. Each hive has like a 3/4 inch diameter hole for their whole hive that they can come in and out of if need be, if it's warm enough for them to do so. And then in the spring, once it starts getting above 50 degrees during the day, we'll come take this box off. We painted it dark so the sunshine during the day and in the morning would kind of heat this box up a little bit. But this is going to provide them some shelter from the blowing wind and the snow and all that stuff. And it worked great last year. I'm hoping that it works again this year. Well, it's a good thing we got the bees done when we did, because the sun's starting to peek out here today. We didn't think it was going to make an appearance, but we got some blue sky. I'm going to go make some lunch real quick and warm up, and then we'll come right back out. All right, had a good lunch. Salami and cheese with that homemade salami we made the other day. Really good. You should try that recipe. Super easy to use up some of your hamburger if you've got a whole bunch like we did when we ordered our half a beef. All right, we've got a real good soaking on our mulch pile out here. Real impressed how much water we've got on here in such a short period of time. It's only been running for a couple hours, but we're already super moist. So I think we're going to shut this down, and then I want to go turn on our water on our food plot again. New hydrants are stiff. All right, we got our high flow sprinkler going again. You can see the circle it does. Goes clear over here, clear over to there. About a 100-foot diameter circle. And you can see how this stuff is green and the hills are all dry. So it's amazing what a little moisture will do. So some of this is the buffalo grass that grows here, but I'm sure some of our ryegrass and our other stuff in our mix will start sprouting, especially the radishes and stuff, because they don't take very long. You can see the new grass right over there. That's probably from what we planted, because that doesn't look like the buffalo grass there. All of the fruit trees are starting to lose their leaves. We won't have to do any pruning out here this year other than probably one tree. Our apple tree here, which I'm told both of these here on the end are Honeycrisp. Talked to the owner the other day, or the previous owner. He came by for a visit. We always enjoy him visiting. But this is probably the only tree that's going to get pruned. We're going to top it again at this level to keep it short. You can do that with apple trees, peach trees, and such. Now, cherry trees I just let go, because cherries and like pluots and stuff like that, the limbs don't get real heavy where they're not supported, so I let cherry trees just grow. I never prune those. And then sometimes when you get a lot of cherries, the birds will eat the ones up top and leave you some down below, and not just completely eliminate all your cherries. But this is the only one that's going to get topped this winter. Everything else I'm going to let grow. Now this pear right here, I'm probably going to take off the 3 lowest limbs down here, and then we'll chop this one here like right at the top of the cage, and that will encourage more secondary limbs to grow. And that'll be fine. We don't want any limbs like right down on the ground down there. We come through and do our strip spray. We don't want any foliage down there on the ground that the weed spray would hit. And we're going to prune these roses back just a little bit. Why are you girls in there fighting? Hershey's running around like crazy. We're just going to prune the stuff that's over the side, and then the longer stuff in the back we're going to kind of train up onto the chicken coop. The clematis did really well this year. It's clear to the top. But the rosemary and the, what's the word I'm looking for? The lavender is starting to die back. But the roses did great. So we're going to kind of train them up on the chicken coop. And the grapes, the frost has got those, but we got some fantastic canes for the following year. So we're pruning those back. You can see the frost got it before the grapes were all the way ripe, but these will be raisins on there pretty soon, kind of like these. Those are dry. They got seeds in them though, so they won't make good raisins. But we're going to prune a lot of this back. We're going to make sure, I got to look again to see which of these vines is a cane prune and which is a spur prune. I'm hoping they're all the same, can be pruned all the same. So we can go down to spurs or just leave some about 18-inch canes off of the main stems. But these larger canes that are going through are going to be the main canes that we use going forward. We have some really good canes to use, and then everything next year is going to shoot off of those canes and grow up. And those canes will get bigger and bigger as we go. But this will be a real nice grape arbor here. I didn't think about when I planted the rhubarb, I should have just planted it under here so it got regular water, because where I got planted now I have to water it special. But next year I'll plant some in here. Kelly's chocolate mint is still going. Hopefully it's not going into the shop. Probably some chocolate mint growing in the shop in there. If you've ever grown mint, it's very invasive. And you want to make sure you're planting it where you don't care if it just goes crazy, because it's gonna. And it spreads underground and just pops up everywhere. So make sure you don't put it somewhere where it's gonna intrude on everything that you don't want it to. Inside the greenhouse, the lavender is still doing fine. It'll overwinter in here. Our tomatoes, it's gotten cold enough where it toasted them. But there's some garlic growing in these tubs we're going to let grow. We're going to pull these tomato vines out of here. and let those thrive in here in the greenhouse. The flies have all come in here for the winter trying to not die, but it's going to get cold enough out here eventually where they'll die too. The ground's already covered with them. We got to sweep this out every year. Let's go over to the chicken coop and I'll show you the update on that. We've got everything just about completed. We've finished our separation wall in here, separating the hospital or isolation pen from the rest of the yard. And right now we have our guineas in here, but they're a little skittish, so every time they see me, they jet back in the door right here. But I was glad to have this done. The only thing I have left is on the laying hen side, we're going to build a little shelter around this door that changes the direction to where if the wind's blowing, it doesn't blow right inside the door. So it's going to be like a little doghouse structure out here, and I think our opening's probably going to go to the south over there. I was just going to offset it, a little bit so it wasn't straight, but I think Kelly wants it going out that way, and then we'll put a little tin roof on it to match the tin up here on the chicken coop. As soon as I open the door, they come running out. They're pretty skittish, but that's, I guess, what keeps them alive in the wild. Weird looking birds. Let's show you in here in the chicken coop. Kelly's got her bins back in here that she stores stuff in, some wood chips and such. And she's been giving the chickens these mashed potato squash, some of the extras that we had. So she's got things going back in here again. And then we got this completely done. I got all the latches for it now. Everything's correct. Got our feeder done. Water is working good. We had to get a replacement watering can because the one we previously purchased leaked all the time. So we had to replace it. Tractor Supply replaced it, no problem. This one does not leak and works great. So Kelly's got a little warmer plate in here for nighttime if they need that. And she's got the roosting bar up on the second level so they can use that to get up by the warmer. But we really love this. It worked out great. We're still waiting for our roofer to come do some patchwork up here where the wind peeled a few shingles off. You can see the darker shingles up there is where he's already patched. We couldn't find a perfect match. But we eventually want to go with a metal roof. So someday when we get some serious hail that completely destroys our roof and we have to re-roof the whole house, we're going to go with a metal roof. And so we're not too worried about the mismatched shingles right now. But he'll get that cleaned up. A lot of the lighter colors there are just the shingles flipped over or the underneath showing. So there's not a lot missing, but he'll make quick work of that. This is a second roof over another set of asphalt shingles. So I don't think the nails that they used were long enough to go all the way down and make a good connection. So some of the shingles are peeling. But once we redo the roof, that won't be a problem. This seems to be the only area that it's going on because when the wind blows from the south, this gets all the exposure. If the wind blows from the north, the shelter belt pretty much breaks it up if it blows from the north or the west. So this takes the brunt of the problem over here on this side of the house. We've had a couple of our large Chinese elm that were standing dead. You can see there's still one in here, but they've since fallen over and they fell into another tree, kind of making a little widowmaker action going on there. But there's a lot of fear out here in Nebraska with the dry winter we had last year, the dry summer, and looking at maybe another dry winter that some of these deciduous trees won't make it. And I hope that's not the problem because the bulk of our shelter belt is the Chinese elm. You see another one standing dead there, right there. We had another large one fall down over further around the corner of the house over there. But our goal is to plant some more evergreens in here so they're do some sheltering all year long. We have a handful of evergreens in there, some of them that we planted last year that aren't up yet, but you can see we have some evergreens in there, but we're getting evergreens every year to do replacements, and we're slowly getting them planted in there. Well, it turned out to be a beautiful day. The sun came out, but we're looking at a chance of more rain, but very slight chance, 2 or 3% chance. So I hope you enjoyed our little update. We're going to get back out the garden, clean that up. We'll show you when we're done with that, when it's all winterized and ready to go. My goal is to get it all cleaned up, get it tilled up, and then put our big high volume sprinkler out there and sprinkle water it very well to try to do another good withdrawal from our seed bank before it gets too cold for anything to germinate out there, so we can get more weeds to sprout. And once they sprout, they're no longer an issue for us once we get them tilled under. And that many less weed seeds we got to deal with for the next year. So we're going to leave you for now. I'm going to my cousin's to make my world famous lasagna tonight. There's video on it. But stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. We'll see you on the next video.